Welcome back, everybody, to the show. Another day and another insane day, starting with a press conference that I want to play some moments from that Trump did with the Turkish President, Erdogan.
This is Turkey time. This is now we're talking Turkey.
Yes. The second I saw Erdogan in the Oval Office, I was just like, yes, we're going to get to play that Turkey soundbite.
This is Turkey time.
Okay. And let's start at the end, because I'll explain it after. I'll just play this full sort of starting at this point through when Trump ends the presser on a pretty bonkers note. Okay, so let's play it and then I'll break down why it's so outrageous. While you watch this clip, please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate the show. It's free, but it supports what we do here. Just clicking that button.
There was another shooting at an ICE facility in Texas yesterday.
Terrible.
Detainees were killed. The FBI director posted on social media bullets that were engraved with the message anti-ICE.
Right.
He just posted another thing on social media saying they recovered a handwritten note from the subject that read, "Hopefully this will give ICE agents real terror to think, is there a sniper with AP rounds on that roof?" Who do you hold responsible for the uptick in left-wing violence in the country?
Radical left rhetoric. The radical left is causing the problem. They're out of control. They're saying things, and they're really dumb people. I mean, I look at Crockett. I look at some of these people. They're very low IQ people, actually. But the radical left is causing this problem, not the right, the radical left. And it's going to get worse, and ultimately it's going to go back on them. I mean, bad things happen when they play these games. And I'll give you a little clue. The right is a lot tougher than the left. But the right's not doing this. They're not doing it. And they better not get them energized, because it won't be good for the left. And I don't want to see that happen either. I'm the president of all the people. But the radical left is causing this. The radical left Democrats are causing this problem. And it gets worse. It gets worse. And it'll be a point where other people won't take it anymore, and that will not be good for the radical left. And we don't want that. Okay, thank you.
Mr. President, it seems like an indictment of James Comey is imminent. Would this be the first step in accountability for pushing the hoax of Russia, along with Barack Obama involved as well?
Well, I can't tell you what's going to happen because I don't know. You have very professional people headed up by the Attorney General and Todd Blanche and Lindsay Halligan, who's very smart, good lawyer, very good lawyer. They're going to make a determination. I'm not making that determination. I think I'd be allowed to get involved if I want, but I don't really choose to do so. I can only say that Comey's a bad person. He's a sick person. I think he's a sick guy, actually. He did terrible things at the FBI. And but I don't know. I have no idea what's going to happen. Thank you very much, everybody.
It's always, just as a side note, that we'll get into what were very intense subjects, and I have more clips from this. I know that was a long, so we'll take a second on it, but it's always strange how they are so aggressive. Get out at the end of a press conference. Okay, it's over, as everyone's already kind of trying to walk out. But two topics there, and then that's the note that the conference ended on. Number one, he gets asked about, and this was horrific what happened. Where he took his response, though, was very chilling. This news, NPR, the gunman who fired at an ICE facility in Dallas researched Department of Homeland Security facilities, and the fatal shooting of conservative activist Charlie Kirk ahead of Wednesday's deadly attack. The gunman, who the Associated Press cited a law enforcement official identified as a 29-year-old, that guy fired at the ICE building and a van, indiscriminately hitting and killing one detainee and injuring two others. So terrible. As if this needs to be said, speaking out against ICE and their recent actions, the response from a lot of the right is that shouldn't be allowed, because we can criticize the government while being very clear that peaceful opposition is the only option. And this shooter, as people dive into and the debate starts all over again, sort of about the motivations and Trump blaming the radical left, once again seems to be one of these guys who was trying to target ICE. He ended up killing a detainee, but was targeting ICE. And still, so that there is a political motivation there, and that is wrong that he went to murder people based on the political motivation. It is, again, somebody who people around him, according to some Ken Klippenstein reporting, say he wasn't like super political, but really disconnected and had a lot of discontent towards the system and just towards the government in general, and obviously became a lunatic enough to try to kill people over that. So what was this? So that by itself is just absolutely terrible, and another example of what appears to be political violence from what we have now, engravings on the bullet about being against ICE, and the response being that people shouldn't criticize ICE doesn't make any sense. We can both do that and oppose violence. But then Trump there brings up Jasmine Crockett. I mean, and then goes, yeah, Jasmine Crockett, she's terrible, low IQ. And the right, I'd really hope that they don't get energized, because they can do a whole heck of a lot worse than this. Again, as we talked about after the Kirk assassination, the way Trump handles himself amid tragedies like this, murders like this, only seeks to further inflame. It's all about the finger pointing, and then he does continue to do the erasure of the right-wing violence we've seen as well, and makes it all about further demonization, which only makes things worse, and specifically name checks Jasmine Crockett. This wasn't Jasmine Crockett. And then goes on to do this weird veiled threat about how the right, we're a lot tougher. Is that the word he used? Or something like that. And is going to come back onto the left was the wording. But I don't want that to happen. It's just really terrifying. And then the second subject, he gets asked about Comey. There's an expectation. Brian Glenn said that it's imminent. Imminent was the word that he was looking for. Comey has an enema. It's imminent that an indictment's coming against former FBI director, enemy of Trump's now, James Comey. And Trump tries to play the game of, I could, the wording he used was, I could have something to do with that, but I don't. But it would be totally fine if I did, but I don't. Which doesn't make much sense, because he just posted, why hasn't James Comey been gone after yet, Pam? You remember the Pam, : why hasn't James Comey been gone after? And then a few days later, after the previous U.S. attorney refused to prosecute Letitia James, refused to prosecute James Comey, that U.S. attorney, Siebert, I think was his name, gets fired by Trump. Trump says he didn't quit, I fired him. And then the new acting U.S. attorney is going to bring this case, is what the reporting indicates. And this was the Pam. I've reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story as last time. All talk, no action. Nothing's being done. What about Comey, Adam Shifty Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing's happening. So this was a few days before. You can't fire the guy who refused to prosecute your enemies, which is what this is about, and then post encouraging your attorney general to go after them. And then once the gears are kind of in motion, if that's the phrase, then you go, I don't have anything to do with that. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Now, in response to the heinous murder at the ICE facility, in response to the broader conversation, I guess, about political violence, one of the things we've heard from prominent Republicans is this is because of escalating rhetoric from the left. What have I said? Hey, I would love for us all to do introspectives of how we could speak about politics in ways that aren't as escalatory, but I do think we should all participate in that, and it not be this weird thing where Trump's running around calling everyone fascist, but then turns around and goes, the left shouldn't call people fascists. We've shown you those compilations before. And then JD Vance just recently said, people should not be calling people they disagree with Nazis. And I agree. Unless someone's a Nazi, don't call them a Nazi. But then Alex Jones posts this after they all just got done saying that the left shouldn't call people Nazis. And again, y'all know I don't throw that word around like crazy like some people do. He said, I'm officially joining the Democratic Party as of today. In celebration of their wonderful work, I have now adopted a hairstyle that matches their policies. And he has the Hitler stash. Now, I don't know if you're owning the left as much as you think, because now there is a photo forever on the internet of you with a Hitler stash. I don't know if that really gets us the same way that it gets you, but that's you saying the Democratic Party are Nazis. And again, there is something dangerous about characterizing your opposition party as the same thing as deranged lunatics who commit acts of violence. Doesn't mean that rhetoric doesn't play a role, but there is something really sinister about how this characterization is taking place. And now he's saying the Democratic Party is the party of Nazis with his stash. That's the point he's trying to make. Then flipping back, and then we'll get to some more clips from this. The Justice Department Justice Department official pushes prosecutors to investigate George Soros's foundation. So what was happening was MAGA was getting really upset because Trump promised on the campaign trail to get retribution, and there wasn't really a long list of people that he had gone after. And so now they're just trying to go through the greatest hits. They're going to go after George Soros, Letitia James, James Comey. I'm sure Adam Schiff is coming up. And all of it seems so obviously to be the very thing that Trump said was wrong that the Democrats were doing when that wasn't exactly what they were doing. And then you just have people like wish casting as to who the next Democrat to be prosecuted should be. And one right-wing account said perp walk him Stephen to Stephen Miller about Gavin Newsom. I don't know what crime Newsom is supposed to have committed, but what's funny about this AI image they created about Newsom being walked in handcuffs is all the police officers are also in handcuffs, which isn't how I remember perp walks normally. Every time I've been perp walked, many times, the officers usually were notably not in handcuffs. So I don't know if they're just getting up to no good with Newsom or what, but sort of bizarre there. Then we get back to the press conference. Again, Erdogan, Trump. Erdogan, notably authoritarian, which is why Trump loves him. And Trump said this.
Of Turkey.
Unfairly, as it turns out. Rigged election, he knows about rigged elections better than anybody. But when I was in exile, we were still friends. That's always a good way to find out, test of friendship. But
so he points to Erdogan and goes, this guy knows all about rigged elections. To which Erdogan's like, hey, bro, whoa. Hey, here? We're going to talk about this here? Hey, whoa, bro. Literally what Erdogan, that's what he sounds just like that. And then this next clip is about this reporting. Leak reveals Trump's plan for federal workers' firing spree. And what they're setting up here, yesterday we talked about the looming government shutdown. Democrats are making demands to support the Republican effort to keep the government funded. And one of them is to protect Medicaid after all the cuts that Trump pushed through. Well, the response from the Trump White House is, if the government shuts down, then we're going to use that time and the executive power we have during it to push through mass firings, not just the normal furlough process, but mass firings to continue gutting the government. Donald Trump's White House budget office has prepped key federal agencies to brace for mass firings in the event of a government shutdown next week. A memo prepared, viewed by Politico, directed agencies to target programs that have no legal obligation to uphold, and this will be beyond the usual process of furloughing government employees during shutdowns to implement potentially sweeping job losses. So another instance of them using what would be a crisis of some sort, capitalizing off of it to do something they already were trying to do, which is in many cases illegal mass layoffs, and say it's the Democrats' fault because it's happening during the government shutdown, which isn't actually coherent, but is the plan they're working with. And Trump got asked about this.
Mr. President, furloughs are very typical when the government shuts down. Why is the administration directing federal layoffs of federal workers this time around?
Well, this is all caused by the Democrats. They asked us to do something that's totally unreasonable. They never change. They want to give money away to illegally, people that entered our country illegally. They want to give them massive federal money.
So you can imagine where that goes, just the same sort of ramblings, and doesn't address the question at all about how they're planning to exploit this, kind of as a little bit of a threat, I think, against the Democrats. Well, if you don't support the funding we want to do and you keep making these demands, then you're going to be responsible for mass firings, which again isn't very reasonable. But then Trump states a lie that is, I guess, the new talking point, which is that Democrats, by wanting to protect to roll back the $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid over the next decade that happened in Trump's law, that's to protect undocumented immigrants getting health care, which is not how these cuts end up manifesting, as we've talked about. And Mike Lawler was asked about this. Get a load of this on CNN and watch. He must feel very confident about his points, because watch how he just tries to bulldoze the host.
Barack Obama did that in 2013, shut down numerous
These are permanent. This is a call. This is a call for
well
permanent.
over a month, creating havoc.
This is a call, Congressman. This is different.
The fact
this is different.
Just
Congressman, can I get my question?
Government open and funded. So, John,
this is a call for permanent firings.
To this.
I'm just asking if there is a shutdown.
Should join Senate Republicans and pass the continuing resolution. What exactly is Chuck Schumer's basis for not passing a clean CR? By the way, these are Biden spending levels.
I'm not sure the audio is working here, Congressman.
In the clean CR.
Because I'm trying to ask you. I'm just trying to ask you about the OMB letter. I'm just trying to ask you.
There is absolutely zero justification on the Democratic side to oppose a clean CR.
I was asking about the OMB letter. I'll try one more time. I think you can hear me. If there is a
Barack Obama did that.
So that's so ridiculous. This is quickly becoming our political debates manifested. I told you I just did a big debate show that will come out in a little while, and a lot of moments were just both of us talking at the exact same time at a high volume for many, many moments straight, which is, it's impossible for you to hear each other if you're both speaking. And I love how John Berman was like, I think my mic's working. Can you still hear me? But I mean, the point Lawler's trying to make is that it's unreasonable for Democrats to make these demands. And I've said before, we all have watched, both parties do get hypocritical in a sense, where when they're the ones in power and they just want to be able to continue funding the government based on the governance they're doing, and they need the other party's help, they're like, come on, don't be making this a whole thing. Just come on board. We'll extend the funding. It'll be fine. And the other side makes their demands. Then the roles reverse, and Republicans are now in power, and they were just making these huge demands when the same thing was happening when it was Democrats who had the majorities. And now they're going, I can't even believe Democrats would make demands. And that kind of goes back and forth. But I'm just glad in a time of this authoritarianism that we're seeing, and the executive overreaches and the horrible policies and the cuts to critical programs and the giveaways to wealthy people that are happening under Trump, the Democrats have found a way to leverage their power, which is, this is a rare chance. They actually kind of have to ask for your support on something. So yeah, you would use it as an opportunity to bring up the areas that are unpopular for the Trump administration. Bring up his Medicaid cuts, bring up that you're demanding the Epstein files be released, etc. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries responded to this OMB memo.
Good afternoon. Do you view the OMB memo as a threat, an effort to get you guys to back down, or a bluff?
We will not be intimidated by Russ Vought, who's completely and totally out of control. The OMB has been illegally shutting down parts of the government throughout the entire year. And the notion that Democrats are going to be intimidated by this guy, when all he's done is send a message to voters in Virginia and across the country that Republicans are determined to hurt the American people. Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. If the government shuts down, it's because they want the government to shut down.
Yeah, so we're going to be hearing this, but it is bad that the government shuts down. It's also one of the rare instances, as I just said, where Democrats have some leverage. They should use it, if for nothing else, to get certain topics into the national discourse. And yeah, for them to go, oh, we're going to keep dismantling agencies, but it'll be your fault because it'll happen during the shutdown, is a clear game that Russ Vogt and the Trump administration are playing. And then back to the press conference, Trump had this to say on tariff checks. They're in a lot of trouble with farmers right now because Trump's tariffs are causing a real problem for farmers. And so now they're going, hey, well, we'll maybe put together something for financial assistance for you guys because we love the farmers. And it's like, that won't solve the underlying systemic problem, which are your tariffs. But then Trump's going, no, but we have to wait for the tariffs to kick in, then it'll be really good. But they've kicked in, which is why they're bad for the farmers. So
They want to take our money. We're doing well. Because of tariffs, we're doing unbelievable. We're making more money than we ever have made. And by the way, we're going to take some of that tariff money that we made, just to get off the subject for a second. We're going to take some of that tariff money that we made, we're going to give it to our farmers, who are, for a little while, going to be hurt until it kicks in. The tariffs kick into their benefit. So we're going to make sure that our farmers are in great shape because we're taking in a lot of money.
So he imposes the tariffs. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think the aid's going to happen. They previously were talking about everyone getting a tariff check because we're bringing in so much money from other countries, even though that's not how they work. But we're going to start handing out checks to people. That obviously didn't manifest, as I said that it wouldn't. Now it's more narrow. Well, we might be able to help the farmers out. I don't think that's going to happen either. But it's a level of panic, which is why he's bringing it up, that a group of people that he promised to be really good for, we love the farmers, going to be so good for the farmers, Biden hates them, that he has to kind of save face for. But the logic is a real mind bender, which is they're going to be hurt for a period of time, was his wording. Why are they going to be hurt? Because of his tariffs. But we just need to help them temporarily until the tariffs kick in. But you just admitted the tariffs are hurting them right now. No, I know, but eventually they'll start working for them. And how's that going to work? Because it's such a beautiful word, I guess.